Welcome to Imperfect in an Uncertain World Resources for Living with Authenticity and Purpose. Have you ever wanted to change, but you find yourself clinging tightly to the old ways? Let's spend some time talking about the art of letting go. I grew up in an era when the phrase let go, let God was a way to connect with the sacred. It seemed like everywhere I turned, people were saying, let go, let God. But I really didn't experience what I thought was letting go. And that was at a time when I was a teenager. And so letting go for me was that total fall into the sacred where I would be taken care of. And I often wondered what was the matter with me. Was I defective that I couldn't let go? Until I understood that it wasn't me. It was an interpretation of those four words. And so lately, I have taken a look at a situation that I've grown more and more tangled in. No matter how much I've tried to let go, I find myself more knotted, clinging harder to the situation. And those tightening bands of attachment cut deeper and deeper into my spirit until I despaired that I would ever be able to let go. Now, taking a step back from this experience, I recognized again that I was clinging too tightly. I wasn't objective. I wasn't practicing the four nons of being non attached, non judgmental, non defensive, and non violent in the situation. Now, after a particularly bad moment that resulted from clinging to something that I couldn't change, I finally had the talk with myself. I recognized that I could not continue the path that I was on. It was elevating my stress levels and it was just causing too much grief in my life. I knew that I needed to take two steps back from the situation that had me so tightly tied in knots. I needed to be objective about the experience before I could find a way to slip from the knots that bound me. And so this stepping back really began with reflection. I objectively reflected upon what was triggering my clinging. What was it that was triggering all of this fear inside of me? Once I discovered the answer through introspection, I gained an understanding of why I was clinging so tightly. Now, what followed the identification and the understanding of what was triggering my clinging was the difficult part. It was paying attention to the circumstances that I'm in that get me hooked over and over and over again. But what did I do? I'll tell you what. When I knew I was going to go into a situation that might trigger, I paid attention to my breath. I consciously was doing a check in with my body. And I let the power of my breath flow through my addiction like tendencies to get trapped by those tightening knots of clinging too tightly. Through my breath, I discovered in real time why I was being caught. And in real time, I could make a choice whether or not to be stuck or whether I would slip through those knots before they got too tight. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. As I reflect upon the past several weeks, I see that things have lightened, the knots have loosened, and instead of my frustration morphing into anger, I now identify the frustration at the root of what's causing me to cling instead of letting go. It doesn't have anything to do with another person or even the situation. It has everything to do with my reaction to the situation. And so what I remind myself to ask is, what can you do with your reaction to the situation? And ask yourself, that's a simple question. I listen to the answer wafting from my intuition, and then I act upon it. And that acting upon it sometimes is really hard, but it gets me to step back. It gets me to be objective about what is occurring. And then any potential reaction is neutralized, and the energy of letting go powers my response. And I like the way that feels. I do a check in to see how does it feel whenever I'm letting go. So slowly by slowly, the grip of clinging has lessened in this situation. I've discovered that letting go is less about flinging myself into the abyss and then flying, and more about leaning into my awareness with courage, trust, and resolve. And when I lean into awareness, I catch the thermal of letting go and ride it on sacred wings. And in that way, I'm not clinging so hard and I can let go. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. More resources are available at intentandaction.com. That's INTENTANDACTION.com. If you need some help letting go, contact me. As an intuitive coach catalyst, I'd be happy to work with you, kind of to dig into what those issues are, and intuitively take a look at where you're getting stuck. But most of all, live the art of letting go. Have a great day.